to, to continue the commitment that I have to the Empowerment Congress and to celebrate its amazing existence. And having been introduced to the Empowerment Congress, oh my goodness, some more than 10, 12, 14, 16 years ago, it seems like, and that you have nurtured and cultivated this throughout your career in public service and seen the level of civil and civic engagement around issues of the day in our community in South Los Angeles, and gathered momentum from our population, and is just always astounded, amazed, and brought me to real levels of motivation around doing this work. And it's been a compliment to be able to work with you, work with the Congress, and to be able to develop programs in our community. And to be able to do this as a person who has a clinical background as a community psychiatrist. Many people may not know that of course, I have worked in this community for over 35 years. Yes, I did my training in New York and on the East Coast, but I did also training at Cedars. And soon after that experience, I realized how important it was for the community to really receive excellent mental health services. And I was glad to have, as on my journey, the experience of working with Portals, Pacific Clinics as it is now. I directed the inpatient unit at what was Central City, for those who have that long enough of a memory. But for those who don't, I was the inpatient director for the hospital at Kedron for 10 years. And so I've had a very long career of being able to work in community psychiatry and to serve those people in our community. And I'm so proud of the staff that we've been able to assemble. And so we have several people, and what I wanted to do today is to be able to introduce you to some of our staff. Not everybody got popcorned in. And so Crystal Olivo is our Chief Program Officer, and Lorenzo Young is our Chief Information Technology individual. But I want to bring in Crystal Clark. Brian Columna was able to introduce himself, and Michael Cermino. And I'm going to, Crystal Clark is our Senior FSP Director. And so I want to introduce her, have her maybe kind of, or guide us through this journey we're going to have around the SCHARP services as it interacts with the homeless sector, and what our services do and how we are positioned. You know, we're a different type of provider in this arena. We are mental health, and that's how our funding is. So our approach represents mental health approaches. And so we don't run shelters. We do some ICMS supportive services, but it's really basically we're doing mental health, and we're very proud of the FSP full service partnership programs and the other programs that are specialized that Brian and Michael, some of our other staff who've introduced themselves here, have spoken about. So Crystal Clark, would you introduce yourself? And Jennifer Smith is one of our staff too, and so she wasn't able to unmute, but she's here. Okay, Crystal.
Thank you, Dr. Barber. Good evening, everyone. I'm Crystal Clark. Like Dr. Barber mentioned, I'm one of the FSP directors for SCHARP. Jennifer? Can I move on to sharing my screen so I can share the presentation? Okay. Dr. Barber, if you want to take this slide.
Sure. Well, I will take this slide, and I can read it directly, but I can tell you that in 1994, we established Southern California Health and Rehabilitation Programs as a entity to provide mental health and services to the vulnerable ethnic minority population throughout Los Angeles region. But it was specifically focused on South Central, as we called it in those days, and as we still call it in certain spaces and places. It is a community-centered approach that recognizes healing and recovery and a journey toward wellness with comprehensive services to adults and children that are both housed and unhoused. And our mission is to build personal and community potential through high impact services and maximize wellness one person at a time. I must tell you, when I talk about our focus, we were originally South Central Health and Rehabilitation Program. And we were able to provide services. We went to the bank, and the bank said, "No, we can't give you any money. You better change your name." And so we kept our acronym, and we got a line of credit when we became Southern California. So it tells you that words matter, and how prejudicial our environment can sometimes be, and we are really keenly aware of that in these days. Okay. So here I am with hair on my face, and we have witnessed remarkable growth. And we started with 5 individuals, but we have a workforce of over 200. And I think it's a real testament to the services that we do, and what we do in terms of being courteous and provide high customer service to those people in our community.
So the Full Service Partnership Program for SHARP is an intensive community-based mental health program, and it's designed to provide comprehensive support to individuals with severe mental illness or serious emotional disturbance. So one of the approaches to FSP is that we emphasize recovery that integrates housing, healthcare, and social supports, addressing key social determinants of health, such as stable housing, access to medical care, employment opportunities, and community connection. The Full Service Partnership Program utilizes multidisciplinary teams composed of psychiatrists, therapists, nurses, case managers, and peer specialists who collaborate to provide comprehensive person centered care. We also have employment and housing specialists as well as a part of the teams. The FSP philosophy is grounded on doing whatever it takes. And so with this philosophy, it ensures participants receive the support they need at any time, including interventions that address barriers related to income, education, and environment. 70% of our services are field based, so we do meet our participants where they are at. And that's to ensure that we deliver personalized, community centered support that removes barriers to access to care. The program is strength based, and so we focus on individuals' abilities and resilience rather than deficits, which empowers our participants to build upon their existing capabilities. And the last program philosophy is personal recovery, which is viewed as a personal journey that includes housing stability, independence, and community integration, which is all influenced by broader social and economic factors. So our target population are adults diagnosed with serious mental illness. So they come into our program diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, co-occurring mental health and substance use disorders, and other severe mental health conditions causing significant functional impairment. Other requirements is frequent psychiatric hospitalizations or emergency room visits, homelessness or at imminent risk of becoming unhoused, involvement with the criminal justice system, social isolation and disconnection from cultural community supports. The FSP program specifically serves ethnic minority populations who face additional barriers to accessing quality mental health care, including language barriers, cultural stigma, and systemic inequalities that impact treatment, engagement, and outcomes. The FSP program serves adults ages 21 to 59 with a serious mental illness that significantly impacts their daily functioning and who have experienced at least one of the following situations within the past year: housing instability, so they can be currently unhoused or at imminent risk of homelessness; justice involvement, currently incarcerated or have frequent contact with the criminal justice system; and the last one is crisis service utilization, so having multiple admissions to psychiatric hospitalization or psychiatric emergency services. Our core services in FSP is providing individual and group therapy. So our individual and group therapy are evidence-based, and we do use these therapeutic interventions, and they're tailored to individual needs and group support sessions. We provide housing support, interim and permanent supportive housing placement and maintenance services; intensive case management, which is coordinated care management addressing all aspects of a participant's wellness and recovery; co-occurring and substance use support, which is specialized treatment for dual diagnosis clients addressing both mental health and addiction; psychiatric medication support, which is a key component of the program, and it's a comprehensive medication management and monitoring by qualified psychiatric professionals; and 24/7 crisis intervention, which is round the clock crisis support services available to participants whenever needed. One of the unique things about our FSP program is that we do have community services and supports funding. And this enables FSP to provide housing, employment, peer support, clothing, food, and other essential services. And so the way that we address housing stability is when we do enroll our clients, immediately after enrollment, we do place them in one of our interim housing locations with one of our vendors. And this immediately reduces the social determinants of health of housing stability. Food is food security. So we do have funds available to purchase groceries for our clients, meal support, and that's to ensure that each participant have adequate nutrition. Clothing and basic needs. With our CSS funds, we do support with buying our clients' clothing and essential items to stabilize them. Educational and vocational support. So our CSS funds can also cover school supplies and employment support as well, and that includes employment um, material that they may need for any job that they do obtain. And lastly, transportation. We do provide support with purchasing tap cards for our participants and any other public transit supports. So our FSP program, we do provide services in service area 4 and service area 6. And we're currently serving 141 participants in service area 4. And some of our key cities that we cover in service area 4 is Boyle Heights, Central City, downtown Los Angeles, Echo Park, El Sereno, Hollywood, Mid City, Wilshire, Silver Lake, West Hollywood, Westlake, Atwater Village, and Little Tokyo. And in service area 6, we are currently servicing 368 participants. And some of the key cities that we cover is Athens, Compton, Crenshaw, Florence, Hyde Park, Linwood, Paramount, Watts, Vermont Square, West Vernon, Willowbrook, View Park, Windsor Hills, Leimert Park, and Exposition Park and Baldwin Hills. And so the total in both service areas, we are currently servicing 509 clients. One of the key things about our FSP program is our community partnerships. We believe that community partnerships are essential when stabilizing our clients and ensuring that they're on the right path to recovery. And so we do have partnerships with the probation department and other justice system provide partners like ODR, housing agencies, and landlords. And so when our clients are matched to a voucher or with board and cares as well, we do ensure that we collaborate. And then hospitals and healthcare providers, for any of our clients that may frequently still visit the hospital, we ensure that we collaborate as well. So some achievements that we do see with our participants when they participate in our program is improve housing stability. One of our biggest things is ensuring that before our clients graduate our program, that they are matched or linked to permanent housing. Reduce crisis episodes, so we'll begin to see fewer psychiatric hospitalizations and emergency room visits. Enhance life management, so our clients are engaging in school and employment opportunities. strengthen relationships, which improves their overall quality of life with their families and building those family connections and social support networks. And then personal empowerment. So our clients leave our program with an increased sense of empowerment and self-advocacy. One of the biggest highlights for our FSP program, and due to our collaboration with the Public Defender's Office, we did receive the Eagle Award last year in October 2024. And this was in partnership again with the Probation Department and the Neurocognitive Disorders team. This award was presented by the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, Chief Executive Office, and the Quality and Productivity Commission. And I believe that this award, it highlights our innovative and collaborative efforts to provide comprehensive support to vulnerable populations, demonstrating the power of cross-sector partnerships in addressing complex community challenges. So referrals for FSP can be accepted by community members, healthcare providers, law enforcement, and other agencies as well. And our intake process is designed to be accessible and responsive to urgent needs. So we can be contacted at our Crenshaw location, and our phone number is 323-593-5300. And you can visit our Crenshaw location in person as well at 3850 Crenshaw Boulevard, zip code 9008. And you can visit our website.
But I want everybody to understand this is a great program, and SHARP, what we do is that we actually have two offices for FSP. One is in the 3850 Crenshaw site, but we also have a site around Vermont and Manchester, and 8838 South Vermont. So we actually cover much of service area 6 with those two sites. And I want to thank Crystal Clark for describing a lot of the FSP services that we provide. I want to highlight also the fact that we are our services heavily depend on peer resource specialists, people who have lived experience, who are often our front line and provide the experience with every one of our client as a kind of a fictional family member. So much of what we experience with our clients is they've been alienated from family. And so there's a repatriation process that often happens as a result of difficulties with family or disaffection or dysfunction. It's almost like a cognitive retraining of an individual to know that they have someone who has undying love for them and will accept their progress and also accept the challenges and sometimes the decompensations that one may have on their journey to recovery. And so that kind of loyalty to the individual, no matter how challenging their behaviors may be, is a particularly psychiatrically a very poignant kind of intervention that really provides a community safety for our participants. So I just wanted to add that to what Crystal has so eloquently described, and I'll back away now for a moment.
Thank you, Dr. Barber. Brian?
Sure. Before I start, I want to give Michael a chance to introduce himself. Michael, are you there?
Yeah, my name is Michael Sermeno. I'm the program manager for the Gateway Mobile Outreach team. But I do want to give a fun fact. Supervisor, Mr. Mark Ridley Scott Thomas, I was part of a cohort program through Southwest College that was during the time of COVID. So I really want to say that program is what got me into this field and was able to get me into SHARP. And I want to thank you so much for that.
Well, I appreciate the acknowledgement. And I also appreciate the designation of multiple names for me, Mark Ridley, Scott Thomas. I think I'll give it to a call. Good, good, good to see you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, I wanted to begin by sharing about one of our specialty programs, Gateway's Mobile Outreach Team. So first off, what is the GMOT program? So it is a program partnership with contracted with Gateway Cities Council of Governments, which is funded by Measure H, which will be shifting to Measure A. And it represents a collaborative approach to addressing homelessness in the region. A little bit about Gateway Cities, the Council of Governments, is it's a joint powers authority consisting of 27 cities and the County of Los Angeles that focuses on critical regional issues such as transportation infrastructure, air quality improvement, housing and homelessness initiatives, and economic development strategies. So our target population for GMOT is for individuals experiencing homelessness who have serious mental illness or substance use disorders, with particular attention to ethnic minority populations who face additional barriers to accessing traditional services. Our mobile approach recognizes that individuals from BIPOC communities may have experienced trauma or discrimination in institutional settings, making community-based, culturally responsive outreach essential for engagement. Our team primarily consists of peer specialists, so who can use experience to bridge that disconnect. Our service coverage areas, we collaborate with cities served in local coordinating alliance 1 and 3, ensuring comprehensive coverage across diverse communities. In LCA 1, we have Commerce, Vernon, Maywood, Bell Gardens, Cudahy, Huntington Park, Bell, and Southgate. And in LCA 3, we have Paramount, Bellflower, Norwalk, Compton, Artesia, Linwood, Cerritos, and Downey. This is just a map of these LCAs. So we have 1 and 3, as I said, and then LCA 2 and LCA 4 are covered by Pacific Clinics. So our target objectives, housing transition success. We want to successfully transition clients into housing within 1 year, providing stability necessary for long-term recovery and community integration. Benefits coordination. So we assess for and link clients to essential benefits, including SSI, GR, food stamps, and other critical support programs. Intensive support services. We provide intensive case management and care coordination to address complex needs and ensure continuity of services across multiple systems. Service linkage, we provide referrals to enrolled clients for necessary services, including substance abuse, dependence treatment, housing programs, mental health services, VA benefits, and other specialized care. We tend to refer in-house before we try referring to other agencies, such as our OCS program or FSP program, and other various programs that we have. Housing placements, we link program participants to various housing placements, including interim housing, permanent housing, and shared housing arrangements based on individual needs and preferences and availability. So this is an overview of how our fiscal year went last year. So we had 257 clients referred, 188 clients enrolled. We were able to link 35 individuals to benefits. 119 clients received intensive case management. We had 46 referrals to specialized services, and that includes substance abuse treatment and mental health care. And we had 108 housing placements for clients. Success in collaboration. Now, all of our successes couldn't be possible without our collaboration with our partners. We were able to collaborate with Share Housing and Hub Cities, which are also part of the Gateways Council of Governments. And they were able to help us secure placements in shared housing, recuperative care, sober living, etc. City and law enforcement partnerships. So the direct collaboration enables us to respond immediately as well as maintain our safety. Flexible funding and real-time resources. Something that distinguishes us from traditional DMH programs is we have less restrictions and we don't have to wait for approvals. We're able to draw down funds quickly to provide timely interventions, basic needs, and coordinated care. As I mentioned before, our team primarily consists of peer specialists. So we're peer-driven engagement. Our mental health peers with lived experience build trust and connect effectively through their experience. And service continuity, we ensure housing stability and smooth service transitions before closing outreach cases. We tend to stay on for at least 3 months and provide support with a client after he or she finds housing. And then contact us. That's my email as well as Michael. If you have any questions, our referral system right now is we do only receive referrals from cities, but if you send us an email and a client is in any of those cities, we can go and check out the area for the client and see if we can locate. Thank you, everyone.
Brian, thank you very much for that. I want our Empowerment Congress members to understand how unique this program is, and that we partner with all of these different city governments and all of their law enforcement necessarily. We receive our referrals from people who are really the governments and the law enforcement entities that are in real time on the street and feel like an intervention needs to be made with an individual. They may be seeing somebody on Atlantic Avenue, and they'll say, "We know that GMOT, come and help this person." So then that's when we provide our intensive outreach and help that person eventually obtain housing. It's really that local that we're able to actually ride along with law enforcement. And it is really an alternative crisis response that is a non-DMH program. It doesn't have some of the structural columns that the DMH program, bureaucratic columns that the DMH program has. And it is purely peer-driven. People with lived experience purely provide these services. It's not clinical in the way some of our FSP programs are. So it provides a lot of flexibility. And so it's so unique. And some of you may know Gilbert Saldate. Our hats are off to him because he was a pioneer in this area who helped us with establishing this program in this area. So it's actually a model program in so many ways. It would be great to see it duplicated in creative funding opportunities in the county.
Does anyone have any questions for us?
Well, Dr. Barber and the SHARP team, first and foremost, I would just like to say thank you. I mean, just when I think I know how awesome SHARP is, I learn even more. So this is it's just so fantastic. And I really appreciate how, you encourage a peer support model and value those with lived experience, and that you really incorporate not only their experience, but also you incorporate their not just advocacy, but kind of acumen, and it seems like even shaping the programs. So from shaping the programs to providing service delivery, and super commendable.
Thank you for saying that, because I do want to also highlight that Michael Sermino is our first peer specialist program manager.
Wow.
And we get recognized by other agencies for also trying to pioneer having them a part of our leadership to assist with, like you said, programs like shaping programs and really getting their buy-in on how should we do this? How do we engage the community? And so thank you, Michael. I appreciate you so much. with assisting with GMA and the oversight and how we engage people even on the riverbeds.
Yeah. No, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Barber, for giving me this opportunity to, this was a pilot program 2.5 years ago. Now we're going close to our third year now. And it's a great experience. And building collaborations with the multiple city agencies has been wonderful, like we couldn't do it on our own. It takes a strong collaboration with those cities and with different agencies to support those people that are in needs, the people that don't really have a voice, people that get walked by every day. But to be able to see them getting placed into either shelter or even to permanent housing for the first time, that makes it all worth it. And to see that joy in their faces when they get their keys to their own place, I cannot. It's very emotional when you see it.
So
Michael, we are so proud of you. And
Yeah.
SCHARP, congratulations, Michael, on being the first peer support specialist in the leadership team of SCHARP too. This just speaks volumes to you and to the agency. So congratulations.
And Michael has highlighted in his introduction of himself, his heritage as being, it may have been Careers with a Cause, maybe at
Yes.
Southwest College.
Careers for a Cause.
In which, Mark Ridley Scott was so helpful in establishing.
Yeah, just make sure I get that dude's money. I'll hook. Get me that bag. I'll hook SCHARP up. Don't worry about it.
And I will say, from that Careers with a Cause program, we have had some incredible success with some people in that have now gone on to do amazing things in the mayor's office and at UCLA. And Michael is just one of a cadre of people who have done so well from that program at Southwest College that was incubated and started by a supervisor. And so it's actually wonderful to see the success of that and how it really translated. It's the community translation of that program into action that is so remarkable. And so we're very grateful from that, having that historically and its imprint on our community.
Well, this is hugely encouraging in the context of a moment in time where, from my point of view, Dr. Barber and team, the momentum that we experienced in 2015, 2016, and 2017 is conspicuous by its absence. We were on a roll then. We were doing things, for example, the Careers for a Cause, and shout out to Dr. Portia Cropper, who was on my team and led that effort at the time. She's now Dr. Barbara at the Broad Foundation, one of their senior officers. A word to the wise is sufficient, Jack.
Gotcha.
Portia is at Broad. Just keeping it real over here. And committed as ever. But my point of view has been and remains as follows. We shouldn't be afraid to try new things, as long as they are grounded as best as we possibly can ground them in not only best practices, but promising practices. In other words, we don't need to be stuck on things that we've already done, because they will wear out to some extent, and we need to continue to innovate. And that's what SCHARP has demonstrated. The entirety of this presentation has reminded me of one of the key issues that is required against the backdrop of this daunting crisis called homelessness. We have to be willing to do things differently, and we have to be bold about that. And SHARP is institutionalizing that, and that is very, very encouraging. And I want to make that clear, Dr. Barber, at a full-throated affirmation that we have to continue uh, to do that, to see our way through. And so something Dr. Norman Johnson has been a part of, efforts that came out of the county to house people. Uh, Janice Martin was integral in helping to facilitate some of that work. She put a big shoulder in on the Praxis newsletters. We got to do a lot of stuff, a lot of time, and not give up. Don't even think about giving up. If we do, we're giving up on people who deserve our love, our affirmation, our support. They are our family. They are who we are, and but for the grace of God. And so I'm heartened by this conversation. And I want to make that clear to all of you who have made presentations and helped us further understand this important work. Dr. Barber was a mainstay in the mental health committee of the Empowerment Congress for many years with Betsy Fromm, and then with her successor, Charlene Demas, right?
Correct.
And more, and still on the case, still working the program. We just can't give up. Forgive me for saying so. It's beneath us to give up. Now, I've talked a little too long. I'm just trying to earn my title as Ridley Scott so I can get that bag. So I can share some of it with SHARP, all right?
Well, I appreciate that, Supervisor, because this work is sacred.
Yes.
It's sacred. And it involves a commitment of those who are engaging in it to understand it in that way.
That's
it's
right.
Personal. It's personal.
Yeah.
And it is, and it represents the integrity of a personal commitment.
There you go.
That really transcends so many other aspects of living.
Mhm.
You know, what is it? Sigmund Freud said the two things you have to have in life are to work and to love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you do this work well, you love your work, and your work is love.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with how many marriages you have. It has to do with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so that's our translation
Mm-hmm.
from this to this particular opportunity to serve our most neediest and most and embrace those in our community.
Yeah.
In their most trying times.
Yes.
Because for the grace of God go us.
That's right. That's real talk.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I wouldn't have attributed that to Freud. Dr. Barber, only a psychiatrist would know that. I just came from a presentation, an arts installation of Corita, the famous Corita Kent, art nun that left her imprint on our lives. And one of her works is precisely that. It says that. And so thank you for asserting that. That's the juxtaposition of work and love is another way of talking about a labor of love. And this is work. It is not for the faint of heart. Let's keep it real.
Yep.
It is not. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you so much. And, I'd like to reiterate, absolutely, it is not for the faint of heart. And I feel like Dr. Barber and the SHARP team continuously show us that. Um, you know, Chuck, I also wanted to give another shout out to Dr. Barber because Supervisor, as you'll recall, Dr. Barber was also one of our inaugural co-chairs for our homelessness working group. So for this working group. So Jack, it's always so awesome to have you back home to the EC. And I wanted to ask, as I was thinking about what you were sharing, what Supervisor was sharing, and the idea of best practices, or rather, I really like promising practices. It seems that both of your programs that you shared about, and I envision all the programs that SHARP and services that SHARP provides, not only do you have collaboration as crucial, and it's collaboration between service providers, collaboration across the board between entities and individuals and different types of experiences, but I see that you also have amazing intersectoral collaborations. As you and the team were sharing about the GWAT program, it sounds like you shared how that is a collaboration between a nonprofit like SHARP and social services and government and local law enforcement. And so in a space where in social services things are ever changing right now, and then just in general, what are some promising practices that you all have developed that maybe you could impart on us for continuing to roll with the punches, because your programs, knock on wood, are flourishing and it sounds like they're expanding, just what we see even with the numbers of who SHARP is able to serve. So what are some promising practices as you continue with these intersectoral collaborations?
So I think I'm going to ask maybe Crystal or Ryan to take some of that up. But the intersectionality of the programs is unique, and the work with the public defender is extremely unique in terms of establishing a relationship with the public defender and being able to a practice of recognizing people who may have some who are eligible for a variety of benefits that they have no way of accessing or have not been able to. For example, the regionals, through the neurocognitive disorders group at the public defender, we are at court every day, and those people who have been come to us through the criminal justice system are have not had the opportunity to avail themselves of other institutional services of which they are eligible, and particularly the regional center, because they have had some very early deprivations and cognitive impacts by the trauma of early interactions with the justice system, which really actually make them eligible and for the services. So it requires quite a bit of research from our staff on the back end. It means really an enormous amount of delving into the histories, and it involves an amazing ability to have a cooperation with a population that has not had a father or brother or anybody who's been able to be their keeper. So it's this my brother's keeper kind of feel, and in an arrangement that is very unique and actually guides us through some great outcomes that keep people in a community thriving, not going back to jail, not going back to a hospital, out of an emergency room, but in a community setting in which we actually celebrate. We do a lot of events in the community, our programming that are kind of maybe not as publicized as we should from a PR standpoint, but it's celebrations of our own of our own community and our own family, because it is a family. You know, FSP has been around the Department of Mental Health for a long time. And so it is going through some structural changes now with the Behavioral Health Service. And while this is not a presentation on that, I think it's probably would be a good idea for us as the Empowerment Congress to know what changes are on the way.
Absolutely.
And we are contractors with the Department of Mental Health. So we actually have great fidelity to what model they have, but we just have to keep knowing what their model is as it changes with the funding limitations. So we are constantly inventing how we can shift and mold to remain viable, to do these very core centered practices, given what our funding is. So there is a move to bring people more into a managed care environment right now. And there's also a move to redefine what kind of practices that FSP does that is going to be effective. Now, quite frankly, sometimes the best subject matter experts are really, we are those. So if people were to observe our practices, I think they would be able to derive how the program should be fashioned. However, that's another conversation. But I would say that there are aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy that our staff has had training in that is very helpful with the population that we see, and that you can integrate CBT into a population of people who have experienced unhoused situations and criminal justice system impact. Maybe Crystal or Brian or Michael might want to expound a little bit more on some of the kinds of things that we're able to do. But certainly by being in the field and not be office-based, 70% of the services are in the field, whether it's the psychiatrist, the nurse practitioner, case manager. That is a different format than most agencies. And we've really been adherent to that type of a format.
Sure, I can share. So some principles that have helped GMOD succeed is, like Crystal mentioned, it's persistence, connection. For a lot of our city partners, I know GMOD, Michael, you had to go out there, make the connection, introduce yourself. You know, you had to really get out in the field to make sure your presence was known, and then have your work show for itself. Because once they see, you know, the impact we're making, the amount of people experiencing homelessness getting housed, our reliability, we do have a 24-hour response. So that does get, you know, word of mouth does travel. And I think that's something that helped these cities recognize us as a force that can support this population.
When people like who's calling us about clients all the time? Hector De La Torre. Get SCHARP to pick this person, get them involved. We get these kinds of calls from our government that they come to us through law enforcement, but through individuals who are very big in decision making, just from their regular day experience.
Sure.
So that they can actually feel like they have an immediate support. So it's been an interesting experience how this is cultivated. The other thing that I would like to say is that we are integrating physical health as well.
Okay.
And so we have partnered with an FQHC, Behavioral Health Services, so that our clients can have the experience of physical medicine as well as psychiatric treatment. So we haven't perhaps popularized this as much as it should be, but BHS has been at the SCHARP site
Wow.
for a couple of years, and they are partners with us for our population of people. And believe it, I'm going to tell you, a person who's unhoused or been in jail is more interested in their health care than you would imagine.
Of
They are
course.
motivated to be actually want to have a physical, to know how sick they are physically. And that's been a great unifier in treatment by having that resource with another community-based agency that does services that they excel at, because it's great. It's been a great partnership and a collaboration that maybe needs to be lifted up, that has not
Sure.
been lifted up.
And it seems like all of these services also are part of, restoring dignity and continuing humanity. Oh, that's amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Dr. Barber and the SHARP team? Yes, Miss Reba, always welcome. Great to have you join us. Thank you.
I apologize for my camera being off. Dr. Barber, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And so I have a couple of questions. One, I want to first acknowledge and thank you for the amazing integrated services and care that you have been providing in our community, South Central Los Angeles, for over 30 years. But I'm curious, with 30 years, is there a plan to expand or to do more in the community based on the SHARP, based on, the current need? So how is SHARP expanding?
Will, it's great that you got that you asked me this, and I can tell you that SHARP will be providing a crisis response center, a crisis response unit, a CRT. It's at 135th and Avalon in the Willowbrook community. We're going to provide a crisis stabilization unit, CSU. I misspoke, CSU, crisis stabilization unit, which will have 24-hour availability for people who in the community will be engaged, who are experiencing a crisis. And what would that crisis look like? It may be anything from a domestic violence situation to being unhoused and victimized, to having a psychiatric moment because medications have been lost or not taken, or a variety of different kind of experiences. But we're building a crisis stabilization unit, and accompanying with that will be a 16-bed crisis behavioral health treatment center in which we'll be able to keep people who are having behavioral health challenges for 60 days until we can actually stabilize those individuals in another housing situation that's going to be sustaining. So there are many people who need these services. They need them in a robust way. They need them from an agency that has a continuum of care that goes from the types of services we're talking here to outpatient services, and we'll be able to serve people who are 17 and older. And so we will expect that may have an expansion of our children and adolescent services, because presently we provide wraparound services, which is a high fidelity model to a child population in South Los Angeles out of our Linwood office. And so we see that being able to have a footprint in Willowbrook and be able to work with other institutions is going to be really great. We have some really amazing psychiatrists who are triple boarded in forensics and and um, substance abuse addictionologists now on staff, and some individuals of that type who are very experienced in crisis stabilization. So we are always improving what we know to be our community's instability in terms of crisis. We just went through a very big Crisis Prevention Institute training last week, and we're going to be implementing that throughout the staff in terms of what our lessons learned. It was an enormous undertaking for us. And but what we experienced was that so many people in our population are experiencing crisis, and so much of it, and we feel that it's become more intense. And I will tell you, if you speak to Crystal and maybe Brian and Michael, but I know for FSP, our clients are on some objective criteria much more ill than they used to be.
Oh, wow.
Some of this is a relationship to substance abuse issues that we have in the community, but much more ill, so they require much more attention. And so this is sort of anecdotal, but I think when we start to rate them in a fidelity way, we actually know this to be the case. Go on.
Sorry, Dr. Barber, may I? I think that's a really important point, even though, yes, as you shared, it may be anecdotal, but could you expand on that a little bit for us? I think it's really important that we kind of sink into the gravity of that you're noticing that there, your clients are more ill than they used to be.
What I'm experiencing, and I think our staff would be able to say, is that the clients that we're serving have their housing stability is much more fragile, much more fragile, and their economic condition is much more deteriorated. And we work very hard for the benefits, but psychiatrically, we're seeing people with with a higher level of illness having to do with uncontrolled non-controlled psychotic illnesses. People who are like grossly delusional, and it may be because there are not enough resources to be able to help stabilize people in our community, and they don't avail of them for long enough time. And we find that our clients are people who've been recycled more and more in and out of hospitals or institutions. This is an experience that how we started as an agency. And I think that there was a little bit of a quell for a moment in the time that I've been practicing. But to see this uptick in frank psychotic illnesses, then sprinkled with substance abuse issues, particularly crystal meth, has caused a level of disorganization of individuals that is much higher. And I think that's what's happened as unhoused populations have increased over the years. There's been a greater tolerance for disorganized behavior. So that's some of what I'm seeing, and I think what our GMOT team on the ground would be able to see and tell you what the type of a client that they're experiencing might be very helpful. What is the profile of somebody who that we're seeing at in the COG, the Council of Governments, those places and spaces. Brian, maybe Michael, you might want to comment on what.
Yeah, I'll elaborate. Yeah, I'll elaborate on that. So with GMOT, our referrals that we do receive, they're for high
Mhm.
acuity clients. So either they have a substance use disorder or dealing with serious mental illness, or they have both. And dealing with the population of people experiencing homelessness, the great majority are people who maybe been in a house for years and decades,
Mhm.
but due to not taking care of their mental illness, um, using substances to counter those disorders, right?
Mhm.
So now we're dealing with a person who has a serious mental illness, but then also has decades of substance use.
Sure.
So yeah, so that's the challenge
Sure.
of working with the clients. But my belief is, and I always believe that house first. And clients will tell you, they're like, and I will not, I will not take care of my substance use because I'm here in the streets. This gets me away from my reality.
Wow.
Yeah. So the idea is to place them off the street, get them into a shelter or some type of housing, and then
Mhm.
once they establish themselves in that way, then to start to focus on their substance use disorder.
Sure.
Giving them the opportunity to say, okay, um, what about addressing I'll give an example, your meth that you've been using for
Mhm.
decades, like, and I will ask them too, like, when's the longest time you've been sober, and they'll tell me, and then I
Sure.
try to let them, with I'll ask questions as far as like, during that time when you were sober, what was going on in your life? Were you housed? Were you working? So that way they could reflect back, and they could see for themselves that during those times when they were sober, things were going good in their lives.
Sure.
They were keeping themselves busy. But it's a challenge, because even when we do have people that are housed or permanent housing, it doesn't end there, because then now our next step is, once they get permanently housed, is
Mhm.
giving them the tools to maintain their housing.
Right.
Because
Right.
you have to remember, you have
Yeah.
somebody who's been in the streets for decades or years, they don't have those tools,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So that's our goal, is allow to support them with maintaining their housing, so that way they can have it, they won't lose it.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
that happens sometimes with other programs, when an individual gets housed or permanently housed, they kind of just let them be, or don't follow up, and then that
Sure.
person ends up losing their housing because they still have that mentality of how they survived in the streets, and they take that indoors, and then they end up losing their housing. So, but yeah, that's the key, is giving them the tools, is with maintaining housing.
Sure. So we don't develop any type of, unhoused recidivism, essentially.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
Thank you.
exciting for us to start to develop this crisis stabilization unit and crisis behavioral health
Mhm.
a building and environment on 135th and Apple. It's
Right.
very exciting for the community to have this as a resource.
Yes.
It's really, and we've been working with the Willowbrook community
Mhm.
over this last year and a half, and so to be able to and have garnered enormous amounts of support, because we envision this with our professional expertise, but as also being an opportunity for those people with lived experience to be able to establish an opportunity to serve in that place. Like
Right.
it'll be a place of healing, in which
Sure.
our
Absolutely.
individuals on our staff with lived experience will be able to flourish and be available on a 24-hour basis. So getting that into operation, I think, will provide a unique experience in South Los Angeles that is a loving, restorative place
Mhm.
that is not necessarily institutional, but will have the backing of the agency.
Sure.
And so
And
we're excited about
oh, Dr. Barbara, this is so exciting and phenomenal. I mean, congrats to you and the whole agency, the whole team. Is this the first 24-hour center in the area?
Well, you have an
In that part of, I think you said.
in that area, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You have an urgent care center that's at the
Sure.
hospital at MLK.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it would be one of it would be unique in the way this is diagrammed and performing services in South Los Angeles.
Right. And this is, I don't mean in South LA as much as I mean that part, that stretch of, you said Avalon and 135th?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, thank you. I think Reba had one more question because I recall her saying I have 2 questions. So if you don't mind, I am going to, is it okay, Sharp team? I know you've been with us a long time and we're so grateful. May we take one last question from Miss Reba, please?
Yeah, as I'm listening, and thank you again, Dr. Barber, for all the amazing work that you're doing. When I think about the crisis residential that is being, it doesn't exist in the moment. It's actually in the making. What is it that members here of Empowerment Congress, as well as those that we touch on a regular basis, what is it that we can do to support you with what's coming to the community? Because too often there are challenges that folks face, just like we have if you're trying to build housing and they're saying, not in our backyard. So what is it that Empowerment Congress can do to support you and the amazing work and what we need in our community?
I think that it would be helpful for, as the Empowerment Congress has been always a community-based group who've been connected as a part of their civil, their citizen duty to have a civic engagement core to it,
Right.
to continue to highlight the work that we do in the second district to the second district. We of course know that we speak to them as well, but we always need more ongoing support.
Okay.
And so I'm appreciative of understanding who's at the road, because that could be helpful and making that building more beautiful than it is. I'm glad to know that. But we always need to be able to be promoted within our own district. So I would say that would I want everybody to know that this is a part of our community. That this building, this opportunity is. It's our community. And so just highlighting that within the governmental structures is always helpful. I do what I can, but there's, as we know, people with lived experience who worked in civic engagement spaces. It's always helpful to have this. So
we are always happy to support in uplifting the amazing work that SHARP is doing. So, and of course to support you, Dr. Barber, longtime EC family. I just once again would really like to thank you. It is always so special to welcome you home to the Empowerment Congress. And thank you to the amazing SHARP team, from Brian to Crystal, both Crystals, Michael Sermeno and C. Nogun. Is it Chat? Am I pronouncing your name right? I hope. So, and to Chat and to Jennifer Smith, is that right? Yes. All right. I'm not butchering too many names this evening. So, but again, thank you all so much. I mean, you truly embody our EC values of educate, engage, and empower. And we are so happy to continue to collaborate and to support and uplift all that SHARP is doing. It is extremely special also that Jack, I love and appreciate how you shout it out and shout it loud that it's for our communities, within our communities, with our communities, especially in a day and age like today. So thank you so much.
thank you.
With that, we also have a few announcements. And I know that I saw that Janet Kelly put in the chat that it is Suicide Awareness Month. Janet, thank you so much for uplifting that. Yes, it is Suicide Prevention Month. And Janet was asking about thoughts and reflections about the month and work in that area. So if there's anything you'd like to share about that, please put it in our chat. In addition, we have some announcements for our Empowerment Congress. And that is, it's important to continue these discussions and to uplift each other. So we have an in-person event called Espresso and Empowerment happening on Saturday, October 4th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'm going to go ahead and put the information for that in the chat. Please feel free to register there, as well as at the next Government Reform and Accountability Working Group on October 7th. They are going to be focusing on Prop 50. So if you're interested in Prop 50, which I'm sure, I hope you are, just learning about it, and as we have elections coming up, please make sure to check out the Government Reform and Accountability Working Group. They have been so amazing in succinctly sharing what so many of these ballot measures and propositions mean, how they can affect us, and just they make them very digestible so that we can understand the whole measure, the whole proposition, and everything in between. So please, again, please feel free to, we hope to see you join us on October 4th at our Espresso and Empowerment from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Zip and Sonder. And on October 7th at the Government Reform and Accountability Working Group. And that is led by our very own Vincent Harris and Pastor Eddie Anderson. And again, they'll be talking about Prop 50. And then our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, October 9th. So with that, we'd like to thank everybody for joining. And Supervisor MRT, did you have a benediction to close us out? Well,
Well, I just want to say that
thank you.
this has been an exceptional conversation, enlightening and indeed inspiring. A group known as Sweet Honey in the Rock. Dr. Bernice Reagan, straight out of the Civil Rights Movement, said, "We who believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes." But she also says, "I think I'll run on and see what the end is going to be." That then stand as the benediction for this evening. Run on.
Okay.
See what the end is going to be.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
night. Yeah, have a good night.